Hey, welcome. This week, actually, we're spending time with typography, and as a result, we'll be spending time today with the Type tool in the Tools panel to give you a sense of what you can do with that tool. There is also a new tool that's added to this panel, to the Type tool panel, and I will demonstrate just briefly how you use it. Because it's just relatively new, a couple of you who are working in the lab may not have access to it, but once you do start having that updated version of Illustrator available to you, it's kind of a cool tool, right, to use as well. All right, so if you look to your tool box, you'll see that here is the Type tool. With Illustrator, it's kind of cool because all you have to do is click in your artboard and then you can start typing. And then you can get your selection tool and you can bring it around here, move it, do whatever. But that's not something that's necessarily available in InDesign. If you work in InDesign, you typically have to create a container and then type in the container. But again, you can just pick a spot on your artboard. And I'm going to get out of that. And I'm going to come here again with the Type tool, click once, and then you can start typing. I can also highlight it and go up here to the Character panel, or go over here to the Character panel, and you'll see that I've changed my workspace to typography to make these options a little bit more easily found. But I can I can highlight that and easily change my font. And you'll see that as I scroll down these fonts, it also will change my example so that I can see what it looks like. We'll try Noteworthy, and then I'm going to increase it. And the way I increased it so easily is, again, I had it highlighted, and then I did Command or Control if you're on a PC, Shift, and then I did my more than key, and you'll see that that increases the size of the type that I have selected by 2 points each time I hit it. All right, so that's the Type tool. When you do have a container, or when you do take the Type tool and click and draw, for example, a column that you're going to put type in, that column automatically fills with Greeking or fake type, and you can see that it refers back to the typeface that I had just selected, and also the type size. So I'm going to change that real quickly so you can see it more easily. And there you go. I'm going to get the Type tool again, click and drag, and there you go, it fills with Greeking. You'll also see with my Type tool that I have selected this Align Center. You can left align it, you can right align it, or you can do any number of different things with it. But for this purposes, for this class, Drawing for Graphic Design, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over those kinds of options. Just want to show you what's available and how you can use it with your art. And particularly in this instance, when we're doing the eggs ad, you'll want to have some knowledge of and flexibility in using your Type tool. All right, so I'm going to, again, left align that. So that's the Type tool, and that's what you would typically use if you're putting in a headline or a couple of paragraphs, or you would simply just go to the regular old Type tool, T. Now, if you click and hold, you'll see that there's a number of different areas, options that are available to you under this panel. So I'm going to click and drag that off here. The next one we're going to look at is the Area Type tool. And this is good to use as part of your illustration or part of your design, but what that allows you to do is to create a shape and then fill that shape with type. So let's use the ellipse tool, for example. I'm not going to get very creative here because I want to get through the entire panel. But if I were to just click and drag an ellipse, and I'm going to get my area type tool, and I'm just going to click up here like it's a text box, and you'll see it immediately fills again with Greeking, with fake text, which I could go in and rekey or copy and paste from a Word document what I actually wanted it to say. Now this is the area type tool, and you can, again, you can left align it, you can center align it, you can right align it. Let's see if I can come up with some other ones here. You can also, this is called justifying. You can justify it with last line aligned left. And then if you click off it, you'll see that, that might be something you want to do for Easter, whatever. But that's called the area type tool, and it will do that regardless of what area you have drawn. Sometimes not quite as effectively, but it will definitely try to give you what you're looking for with that. Now something like this, I might even, depending on how readable we wanted it, I might decrease the type size, and rather than doing what we had done with justify with last line, I might justify it with the center aligned. But see, by being justified, it gives me this funky spacing here that I don't like very well. So maybe I'll try to left align it. And again, this isn't something necessarily that happens easily, but certainly much more easily than if you try to do this manually. I was going to go up here and see if I could get this closer into the tip, but I think that's as close as I'm going to be able to do with this particular typeface. Alright, so again, that's the area type tool. Now this is type on a path, and that's kind of cool too. Let's say I draw a path with my pencil tool, if I can find it. I don't like that path, that's not very good. Let's do that again. And I can get the area or the type on a path tool, and I can click, and again immediately it follows the path. It fills again with Greeking, but I can easily go in and change that to say what it is exactly that I want it to say. So again, that's just creating a path. You can also, let's say we want to use the type on a path tool rather than the area type tool. It will allow you to do that as well. So you can create type that extends around the perimeter of your shape. Now, if you go up to options in this particular instance, and I just double clicked on my type on a path tool and it brought up my path options, I can change the effect. I can skew it a little, and you might want to preview it to see if that's something that you actually want to do. You can bring it back to rainbow, but you can flip it so that it's going upside down and all around. You can align the path, and the baseline means aligning it to the baseline of the letters, or you can align it to the ascender, which is the tops of the letter forms, like the top of the B. I'm going to flip this around so you can actually see, like the top of the letter form T, or you can align it to the center. So there are a number of different things that you can do in addition to simply typing on a path. So that's an option that's available to you in that panel. And this is vertical type. I really don't like this type option because I think it makes it difficult to read a particular word. But because it offers that Greeking, it does, it does align it a little bit better. This is something that's available to you. I'd probably stay away from it. This one is a vertical area type tool. So let's see if we can get it like this. And I will get a rectangle tool. Vertical area, click here, and you can see the impact of that. This is a vertical type on a path tool, and so on and so forth. Now this, again, try it, and don't only try the different tools, but also try different fonts. Typically there's a style, depending on what's designed for that particular font. There's a light in Helvetica, light oblique, regular, oblique, bold, and bold oblique. If I used Gil Sans, for example, there's regular, italic, bold, and italic. So I'll play around with the style as well as the size as you're creating your type. Now, again, if you watched the video already, which I certainly hope you have, you'll note that there's some fancy stuff that you could do with your display type or your heading for your ad that you probably would not want to do for the body copy or the crux of the ad, the important information, because it makes it less readable. Certainly you can do some of this fancy stuff for your heading or your headline for your ad. Now this is kind of a cool tool that they've added, and I'm going to see if I can demonstrate it for you. I've also included a video in week, whatever week we're in. Is this week 4 or week 3? About this, just because I think it's a cool tool. But we're gonna move this up here so you can see it a little bit better. We're going to get lorem as big as we can get it. And this is something that we used to be able to do, but it's a lot more difficult. I mean, we've always been able to do it, but it's a lot more difficult. So now I have this lorem, and I want to tweak the L. I want to make something a little bit different, do something a little bit differently with the L. So I just have to click on it, and you'll see that that individually selects the L. How nice is that? So now I can change the color. If I want to change the color on just the L, I can increase the size if I just want to increase the size of the L. I can rotate it. And I can rotate it. I just have to figure out how I do that. Oh. Well, trust me, you can rotate it. Why can't I do it? Anyway, you can, and I'll play with that instead of taking your time so I can show you how to do it if you want to do that. But that's the last tool in the type tool box. So again, for your ad, might be something cool you want to play around with. I did want to show you something else with just the type tool. If you choose to do something like this, add color. So I'm going to just do Nancy. And let's say that I wanted to add color to it. You know that you can just go over to the color spectrum over here and change your color based on whatever you choose. You can also apply a gradient. And this is a little bit trickier. I am going to bring up my gradient panel. And you'll see that it doesn't accept the gradient as type. So what I have to do if I want to put a gradient in that particular group of letters, forms, I have to go up to Type and Create Outlines, and then I can apply it. A couple of things for you to remember. If you do that, it is no longer sizable or manipulatable, I guess, I don't even know if that's a word, as type. It's now become individual little art forms or little pieces of art. So I can change these out just individually as an art form, but I can't switch it out as a as type again. And if I want to get that gradient and change the color again, I can change gradients. So that's kind of cool. Another thing that you can do that I like quite a bit is I'm going to do a file and place, and I'm going to place an image from my desktop. Hopefully I have an image there someplace. Let's see, I'm sure I've got images. Okay, I'll place this. And I'm going to size it so he's a little bit more realistic size, 25%. I'm going to preview it. I think that's okay. We're going to bring, this is my grandson, by the way. He was just in Florida. And I am going to use this picture of him as a filling for a frame. So I'm going to do Object Arrange, send to the back, and I'm going to send Jackson back behind me. And then I'm going to pick my name. And remember, I've already created outlines, so that's step one. You have to create outlines. And then under Object, you want to go up and do Compound Path and Make. And then you want to select both the image as well as the type compound path that I just made, and do Object, Clipping Mask, and Make. And we have that image inside my name. So again, that's kind of a cool trick as well. All right, so that's spends a little bit of time, gives you just enough information to be dangerous with the type panel and the type tool. If you have any questions or if you want me to demonstrate something else, I'll be happy to do that. Don't forget, you can put a stroke around your type as well. See that? If I had that with a background of blue, it might be kind of hard to read. Let's see, let's take a look at it so I can show you what I mean. I don't even know if I can find a, here, Object Arrange, send to the back. So if I wanted, actually that contrasts pretty well, but if I wanted to do something like that, but I wanted it to, the name to stick out a little bit more, I could also add a stroke to it. You have to be very careful when you add a stroke to type because it can obliterate the type shape if you make too heavy of a stroke. But something like this, and I'll just show you, might also make it a little bit more readable or contrast it a little bit. If it starts to damage the design of the letter forms, if it starts to close off some of these openings or make your typefaces or your letter forms too close to one another, then you want to question whether or not you really want to add a stroke around that particular type. There's another way that you can do it. I could take this and do a Command C, which is copy it, and then do Edit, Paste and Back, and then I can put a much larger stroke around that copy, if I can find my stroke panel, and it won't as quickly obliterate or destroy the letter forms. You can get quite thick there before it becomes an issue. You'll see they're now touching, but they're still not doing too badly with the inside of the letter forms. When you get this kind of a thing going on, that means you either need to change the cap or the corner. There, the corner's not too bad, to take those little spiky things out. But again, a lot of cool things you can do with type and make it an illustration or part of your artwork. Thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow already. Talk to you soon.